So, stay out of it. Hello, everybody. It's another day here at the dog compound. Yeah. You're the boss. We all know. We all know, because you're the loudest. Women's Equality Day. If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Said by the one and only Shirley, make sure I get her last name, Chisholm. First black woman elected to Congress. Was that from the state of California? I am not certain. But, yeah, she made a place in politics. I believe she also was the first black female to run for the presidency, right? Many years ago. So, without further ado, right? My doggy survived a trip to the veterinarian, which, you never know how those are going to go, but he did very good today. So we went for a little stroll afterwards, and it's a wee bit muggy. So yeah, I'm hoping for a little afternoon rainstorm, but I don't know if we're going to get it. You know what I mean? Also, not a great week for celebrity passings. We just had Dolly and now Tim Curry, right? So, yeah. I mean, the flags are already at half-staff everywhere when I was driving around, so people followed those rules. But, Tim Curry, kind of the man, the myth, the legend, right? When... I didn't really know him from Rocky Horror when I was a kid. Like 1985, 80s. The movie Clue came out, and then there was also the board game Clue. And, so when he was in that, to me that was Tim Curry. And then I discovered Rocky Horror later. But, what a versatile actor. You know what I mean? Just... all around interesting person. So, and I think he was one of those people that didn't shun fame necessarily, similarly to Dolly Parton, whereas, they didn't seem annoyed by it. They welcomed it and welcomed their fans. So, I am doing a reading. If you're not familiar with the channel there, whatever your name is. I won't try and mispronounce it. Okay, so anyway, 2 of Wands. Okay, you may have a decision to make. It could be one of those things too. Like I was talking to the gal at the veterinarian. I said, sometimes I have stuff in that Amazon cart, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna get it later, right? So, this could be something where you're like, it's like pending, it's on hold, you're not sure, you might wait till tomorrow, do you still need it tomorrow? It's like, yes, you could make a decision, but you know what I mean? There might be something else that's holding you back, and it might be just because you have a strong enough foundation that you don't need to go chasing after things. Okay, what's that Chasing Pavements song by Adele, right? He said that's what we were doing earlier on our stroll. Isn't that right? Yeah. It's like I never know what words are just going to set him off. He just goes crazy. Hello there, Harshad, in the chat. Sometimes I'm not sure with the usernames if it's your first name or your last name, right? So let's keep going. 7 of Pentacles. So again, work that is in progress. Here they're showing somebody planting a garden. I was just researching fall garden crops. Lettuces do very well. Also some root vegetables, rashes, you know, broccoli even they were talking about. Some cruciferous vegetables, right? So that might be something that you're interested in, both, literally or figuratively. I was talking about blanching my vegetables the other day. Some of the vegetables I blanched, though, were things that I got from the farmer's market. They weren't necessarily things that I grew. You know what I mean? So some people will be like, oh, well, you do that because you have this. Blah, blah, blah. Well, no, everybody has access to the farmer's market. Anybody can go to the farmer's market. And, even people that are on limited income, right? And they might take, say food stamps or stuff like that. You can use those at the farmer's market. Okay, so I'm not trying to, come down on folks, but I'm just saying that there are opportunities out there, right? Because maybe you work a lot and you're not able to tend to a garden. Maybe you don't have the physical space for a garden. Things of that nature. But there are resources out there, right? So go to those resources, see how you can potentially utilize them to the best of your ability. Okay. Can you relax, please? Anyway, Harshad, we're doing great because, like I said, we survived the veterinarian. He had to have his ears checked, and he had a blood draw, and then we also had to have his nails trimmed. So that was quite a lot in a short time. And for a squirrely dog like him, that's a rescue. I haven't even had him a full year yet. He did pretty well. So, So like I said, after that we went for a little stroll. So, okay. The Sun card, Leo energy as well. All right. So just like Dolly, just like Tim Curry, shining and being as bright as you can be. You know what I mean? Turning on that love light, turning on that energy, turning on the charm. Not necessarily fake charm, but you know what I mean? When you're in the right environment, it's pretty easy, right? When you're around the right people, it's pretty easy, right? When you're not around a bunch of hating ass BSers, it's pretty easy, isn't it? Isn't it? Two of Swords, yeah. Hating ass BSers. They're the ones that want to put you in that Two of Swords. See, those are the type of people that will take this kind of situation, a Two of Wands, and try and force it on you like it's a Two of Swords. Like forcing you into a decision, trying to say, if you don't take this, you're going to miss out, blah, 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 blah. But really, it's like, do you ask yourself these questions? Do you really? Do you really? It's part of the reason, and like I had to get more medicine for my dog today at the veterinarian, and I was explaining to them, I was like, I was gonna order it online, but I had it in my shopping cart, and then like that night it went through and it tried to run it through. And I've never had that happen before. I've had other things on websites, just in the shopping cart before, and it never tried to charge my cart, but this did. And so, I hadn't gone through with the the rest of the process. And they're like, yeah, that's kind of, it's like I said, just because you got it in your shopping cart doesn't mean you need to purchase it, right? If you're still in the store, you haven't gotten to that checkout lane yet, you still have time to put that back. You still have time to reconsider. Especially when I was on more of a limited budget, working, more of like an hourly job before I was kind of more of a management employee and making more money. I would go into the store, into the women's clothing area, and especially if they had more like multiples of like my size and stuff, like I would not buy an outfit that day. Almost never. Almost never. What I would do is I would wait 24 hours, right? And then I would say, is that dress, is that jacket still on my mind? You know, like, is it still at the forefront of my thought? And if so, then I would go back and I would purchase it. And that helped me stay on a budget. Okay. So I wasn't just spending. And then, you have stuff where it's like, oh, I gotta take this back and blah, blah, blah. Or maybe you get excited and you take the tags off and you're like, ooh, it doesn't really fit right. Or it's not really, you know what I mean? So you don't get stuck with something. So again, if it's not making your heart happy, don't think you need to be stuck with it, right? What's that song? I was just singing it the other day because it came on the radio. Happy to be stuck with you, Huey Lewis in the News. Okay? So if you're not happy to be stuck, in a job, with a partner, whatever it is, if you can't find some happiness in that, it's like, ask yourself, did you choose that? Or, did somebody else make that choice for you? Right? So, yes. What a little doggy she's laying right here. So she did not have to go to the veterinarian today. She had the house all to herself while we were gone. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was funny. I was feeding them some. They're supposed to be eating their dry food, but I give them wet food also. Like the canned, or like the, the rolls of. I'll slice them off some stuff of that. But she was in the kitchen there watching him eat some of the dry food, the kibble that he had, because he likes to tip the bowls. It's like his thing lately, tipping the bowls over. He's done this for like the last month or so. It's quite annoying because then I have to go around picking up the food. Anyway, she was laying there watching him eat, and her snout and teeth, the way she was like, it literally looked like the movie Alien, when the alien starts to, and it's like, and I just thought, oh boy. Like, I pity the fool that comes at you, dog. I pity the fool, right? Yeah. You look so sweet and innocent, don't you? Don't you? She said, yeah. She's like, I know how. She's like, I was fine before he came along. Yeah. 10 of Wands here. So somebody could want you to give in. So gross, some of this energy. Okay, and I literally just saw a headline that said something about Hayden Panettiere's former love interest, who was there at the scene of the crime. Telling a director that he could get her to do anything. Yeah. And have you noticed in all these reports that, like, it says his name, but it has never said what his job is, what his career is? Like, he's just a bum loser drug addict, right? That was leeching off of her, using her money to fund his lifestyle. He was a nobody. And, it's like he unfortunately succeeded in this world, putting some of his burdens on her. And, unfortunately, her life was cut short. Don't let people do that to you. Because there are people that are going to be out there trying you, right? And, oh, man, doesn't he look the part? I'm sure he cleans up real nice, right? Looking like Mr. Clean Cut, whatever. But he's not, is he? And again, read through all those reports. You haven't seen one report that even says, like, oh, he was, they can't even make up something lame like he was a Hollywood manager. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, he had, like, he didn't, it's like he don't even have Starbucks on his resume, right? And they're complaining about Northwest wanting to work at Starbucks. Like, this freaking loser, this guy. Ugh, ugh. Anyway, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I saw people complaining about that, about her wanting to work at Starbucks. Like, she's only 14 years old. Anyway, it's like, what's wrong with that? It's like, that's probably the most normal thing this kid's probably ever experienced. Considering her parents are billionaires. You know what I mean? It just goes to show that people will complain about anything. And it's like, you don't need to be around that. You don't need to be around that. So, not only the people in our lives collective, but, the things that we consume out there. I'm not saying you have to lock it on Disney Channel for the rest of your life. I'm just saying, think about the seeds that you're planting and that's going to be building, right? Because they often say, the bad ones will bring the good ones down, but very rarely will the good ones be able to bring the bad ones up, because the bad ones want to be bad, And I think that's what that Hayden ran into with that guy that she was involved with. And, have mercy, because I think she didn't really understand that she could be alone. You know what I mean? That she didn't actually need somebody trying to manage her, Because when you see pictures of her, like, by herself and things like that, she seems to be a pretty happy person. Pretty well adjusted, considering, she was started, acting, in Hollywood when she was less than a year old. Thank you for the subscription. Thank you. Also, thank you for the like, because remember, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video, but you can become one today, and it is the 100% free way to support the channel, okay, and these messages. All right. Oh my goodness, don't we need this today? Four of Wands. Okay. So there was another thing. I posted several things on my Insta and Facebook story, because all the stuff from Dolly the other day, and one of those things was that she said, if you want the rainbow, you're gonna have to put up with some rain, right? So yes, we experience those losses, we experience those tragedies in life, but what else was there to go along with it? Look at the body of work that Tim Curry left. Look at the conglomerate of people whose lives that he touched, and like all those gatherings of, viewings of the Rocky Horror and the the play, in the local theaters do the play in, October season and things like that, right? That is a shared vision, okay? And it's something that's joyous and brings people together, right? So that'll probably be something pretty special coming up, right? The next time those get performed, because people are gonna really see the value in the togetherness, right? Because a lot of people, if they don't understand it, they don't get it, they don't like that actor, they don't like what it's about, then it's like, oh, why are you doing that? You know what I mean? They got to try and ruin everybody's fun, right? I don't know what that question is saying there. Guessing what? Anyway, Yeah, Page of Swords. So there might be a lot of chatter today or through this week. People maybe, kind of, and he's holding this glass of wine here. It's kind of like the people that quit drinking. I get it. Good for you. But, hopefully you don't own a bar. You know what I mean? The rest of society moves on, whether or not you have a drink of, or a drop of alcohol. Okay? So if you want to go around and demonize people for drinking alcohol just because you had a problem with it, that's on you. And I hope none of your friends own bars. Right? Right? Because you're not doing any favors to their business, are you? By demonizing it. All right. So, some people forget Jesus turned water into wine. And some places around here, I'd rather be drinking the wine than the water. Because have you seen what they dump into these rivers? Right? And it's always years later, so-and-so company XYZ gets fined millions of dollars. Well, the damage is already done. That's the problem, is that the damage is already done. Right? Right? Then they want to rag on people for filtering their water into beer and wine. Like, whose side are you on? Whose side are you on? Kind of like some of these people in the neighborhood that I live that like to call the cops on me, but I never see them outside walking their kids around. I never see them taking their kids to the playground. I never see them taking their kids nowhere. Should I start calling CPS? Or, does somebody need a wellness check out there? Right? Right? Tattletale Central, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Few too many paid informants around here for my liking. Which, oh yeah, so that brings up another point. So, as I was driving around after our stroll today, I happened to see a for sale sign on this one house, and I thought, oh, I'm going to look it up. Well, I happened to end up looking up the neighbor's house instead. That's what came up on the search, and the annual taxes on it. Now, this thing looked like a castle, so I imagine the taxes were pretty large, right? The taxes just for this last year was like $17,000, right? I was like, whoa. I'm like, I wonder how much this other house is, because it's not a castle, but it's like in the same neighborhood, just a few doors down. $16,000. And it's like, okay, that house is like a castle, and that house looks like a regular house, like all one level. Like, yeah, it's in a nice neighborhood, it has a good view and all that kind of stuff, but like, there was only like $1,000 difference in the property taxes between these two things. One, it looks like Bruce Wayne lives there, right? And the other one, it looks like Alfred lives there. So, but there's only like a difference of $1,000 in the taxes, and it's that much. It's like, well, no wonder it's still for sale, right? I'd like to know how many days it's been on the market. I didn't even look at that, right? Because, yeah, that's what happens around here. Some of these people from these other states that have these very, very low property taxes, they see the price of our houses, and they think, oh, housing's so cheap over here. Yeah, well, pay the taxes. Pay the monthly taxes that go along with it. Yeah, then you see these houses up for sale. And then they're like, oh yeah, somebody from Texas was living here for a little while. Yeah, and then they ran away. And then they ran away because they were like, we're not paying these property taxes. And I don't necessarily disagree with them with that, because if that's just one house, 17 grand, and then the very next house, 16 grand, think about just that whole neighborhood. How much money it is. It's like, how many city employees do we have? because all this money that's going into this tax pool, okay, and then we also have our gambling money, and we also have our weed money, right? And we also have our lottery money, but yet we're broke. We're broke, and they want to keep raising the property taxes more and more and more, and it's like, there's going to be a breaking point, folks. There's going to be a breaking point. You know? It's like they never took that accounting class where they ask you what the break even is. You know, so I'd like to ask our city manager that makes over $200,000 a year if he's done that analysis on the break even point. Have you, sir? I actually used to work under him years and years ago when I was still a student in college. He wasn't making 200 grand back then, but, you know, when your working hours are like, what, 9 to 4 and you get an hour lunch? Yeah. Real tough. It's real tough working down there at the county courthouse, let me tell you. I was bored out of my mind. I thought, oh my God. Like, is this what these people do all day? Like, this is horrible. Was a little too slow for my liking. Anyway, we're going to do some Moonology since we do have that full moon coming up, right? I know my dogs were respawning it last night. I think I posted a picture out on the community tab too. This is a look kind of cool in between the clouds. Which it was cloudy earlier. I thought it was going to start raining, but so far it has not yet today. So we'll see what happens. We shall see. You know, I'm not saying some of that tax money isn't going to a good cause, but it's like, damn. And I pay what? Over $700 a month just for my health insurance? You know, and that's not even like the fancy plan. That's just for, you know, God forbid anything happens type thing. And, you know, I think they covered my colonoscopy, which, you know, it's preventative. They should. They should. A fiery climax approaches. So you could be experiencing some kind of lead up here, okay? Especially with this two and the 7, and then it's kind of like the ball of fire sun is gonna, like, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things, almost like, you know, putting the quarters in the slot machine, and you think like, well, I'm not really gonna win the big, you know, blah blah. But then that next bowl, the bells start ringing, and it's like, oh, I guess we need to call somebody over here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that, okay? Because you were okay before, right? And you're only putting in a quarter. You know, you're only putting in a quarter at a time, right? But, right? Sometimes you don't know what's going to really sprout and take off. Okay? Okay. Alrighty. I might have to cut this a little bit short, you guys. Alright. That's going to be it. That's going to be it. Okay? Alright, so I got to cut this short. Sorry, guys. Until next time, please do manifest wisely. Bye-bye.